Hi, hello, I'm Will. I'm incredibly warm, and this video is about that thing that I just did a minute ago. Did you catch it? Kind of cool, right? See, every time I finish a YouTube video, I end up in this kind of spiritual hangover that I like to call goblin rot, in which I doom scroll a lot, consume lots of sugar, and watch lots of YouTube videos. And one of the YouTube videos that I found myself consuming was Interactive YouTube Drum Machine from 2011. You can play the drums. It's dead simple, right? See, if you're watching YouTube on desktop, you can at any time press the keys between 0 and 9, and you will immediately skip anywhere from 0% to 90% of the way through the video in these 10% increments, right? So the thing that Milgram did over here was to set up a 20-second video, and then at each 10% interval, i.e. every 2 seconds, put down a drum sample. And that way, whenever you press one of these number keys, you immediately skip to a drum sample, and you got yourself, dare I say, an interactive YouTube drum machine. And there's loads of these that work in the same way, right? You've got YouTube piano, YouTube guitar, YouTube B. But the thing that I started wondering, 2 bags of squashes deep, eyes glazing over as I hammered away mistimed drum grooves on my keyboard, was, wait, couldn't I be controlling this with MIDI? See, all I'm doing here is inputting keystrokes, and I've done a little bit of MIDI mapping in my time, so I figured, surely it is possible to assign an incoming MIDI value to a keystroke. That's all I gotta do. And I was so confident that I'd be able to get this working that I set up my tripod then and there, and I made a time lapse of me trying to figure it out. And 10 minutes later, in all my hubris, all I had in front of me was a colossal string of big fat L's that I typed using my MIDI keyboard. This is a program called MIDI Key to Key, and what it does is it converts each MIDI key to key. Specifically, you give the program a set of MIDI values, you let it know what each one should correspond to, and after a bit of trial and error, maybe after navigating a slight amount of jank, you can pretty easily get the computer to recognise your MIDI inputs as regular old keystrokes, which means you map them to 1 to 9, and you can now control the YouTube video by MIDI. Cool. But this that I'm doing here is not why I wanted MIDI control. I didn't come here to just swap one kind of key for a different kind of key. That's lame. I want to obsolete myself entirely. So, instead of playing these keys manually like some kind of caveman, now that I've got all of these values mapped, I can just sequence them. So this right here is my proof of concept, right? This was the idea that I dreamed up from the depths of goblin rot, and it's fine. Except no, it's not fine actually, it's great. And let me tell you why. For a start, there are way more hotkeys on YouTube than just this set of numbers. You can play, pause, mute, unmute, turn the volume up and down, skip ahead and back by 5 or 10 seconds, and my favourite one, you can speed up or slow down the video, which gives you some really cool textural variety at the click of a button. And with a setup like this one, each of these things could be done live or sequenced or a mixture of both. And considering that this model cycles is a pretty good sequencer, I can also throw in random chants or have events that happen only when certain conditions are met. All of this comes together to take what looks on the surface to be a really shallow gimmick and turn it into a accidentally surprisingly deep gimmick. And oh yeah, your sample pool is this entire oil spill of a website, so congrats. Even with just a couple sequences programmed, you now have basically infinite possibilities, and every video is going to lead you to substantially different results. And then, once you've got a decent stew going, all you got to do is open OBS, follow this guy's instructions, and you can record straight to your DAW and make YouTuber music. Like this. Whoa, how exactly did you create this? I hear you pleading frantically at the screen in honestly quite an intense way. Well, I started with one of my own tracks that just happened to be on YouTube, this old cassette tape ambient type thing that I figured would chop up pretty well. So from there I plugged in the model cycles and just started working on a sequence that I thought would work. I ended up at this rhythm of jumps and skips that I thought was kind of nice, and then I varied that up a bit with some speed changes and a little pinch of randomness, just so that it would never repeat itself in exactly the same kind of way. And I probably could have left it there as far as chopping goes, but I did then proceed to go into Ableton and shift some pitches around so that it wasn't just stuck on one chord the whole time. Some digitone drums and a fake Moog bass later, and that's what you just heard. So not your purist's 100% organic YouTuber music, but very much driven by this workflow that I've been talking about. However, with just a little more time, it's possible to add to this. For instance, this technique is really good at coming up with kind of random, fragmented textural layers to drape over the top of things. So I went on PetitTube, a website that shows you random, super obscure YouTube videos, and after a couple rounds of layering, I ended up with a pretty cool soundscape. And then, in a beautiful stroke of luck, it served me a inspirational French Joker edit. Cool enough on its own, I know, but it so happened to have this music in the background that it was just perfectly in key with the music that I was already making. So in that went, along with all my other soundscape layers, and now the track is way busier and possibly slightly worse. I don't know, you listen, tell me what you think. Look, I don't know, I think it's pretty fun, but for certain I would not have arrived at this track or idea without this little MIDI flow that I've been talking about. So, with that in mind, could this be the perfect music production workflow? No, by most standards, honestly, kind of bad. Look, I'm not going to pretend that this is some kind of deadly serious, ultra-efficient music production tactic. In case you haven't noticed, I don't talk about many of those on this channel. Doing this is clunky and slow and laggy and random. There are probably myriad copyright issues that I'm going to discover when I try and upload this video, and there are definitely ads aplenty. All of this obviously falls into the novelty, gimmick, party trick category. But look, I don't know, so do loads of other things that people have used to either make or inspire great music. I know it's kind of a brave take, but I personally enjoy having fun, and MIDI YouTube served me up a moderate amount of that. In some of my videos, like my last one, which statistically none of you watched, I try to take an idea to its absolute conclusion, explore everything I can. This one is very purposely not one of those, because I really want to see where people smarter and more talented than me can take this concept. I've barely scratched the surface with this. Like, one idea just off the top of my head, you could totally get pretty deep with making custom YouTube videos, like to purposely mangle up using this technique. You could make breakbeats or chord progressions and then sequence things so that you get some generative music going. Why not? Try it. Definitely there are some smarter things to be done on the MIDI side too. Like, MIDI is deep as hell, and I've heard that some people can do this thing called programming. So there are absolutely some wild things to be done on the MIDI side, and I want to see them done by you personally, Jason. Otherwise, that's all from me. Oh wait, no, here's another idea. Maybe you could program MIDI to subscribe to my channel, or perhaps peruse some of the delightful affiliate links that reside in my description. Give it a go. But hey, if you hated the video, don't worry, because I've actually already sorted that one out for you. Check this out. Okay, bye. See you in the next video, by which point I will have got a haircut.